So when I first started, I drank the Kool-Aid. I worked, I would work 18, 20 hours a day. That's all I did. I wasn't at home. I was missing birthdays. Financial wise, we were doing great. Personal life was horrible. My wife was miserable. She was mad all the time because I wasn't home. I was always working. And so, and we did great financially. But then once you stop and take a deep breath, it was like, well, what's all this shit for? What's all this stuff for if I can't enjoy it with my family? And if your kids are screwed up, what's the point anyway? What does it matter?
Welcome to the Accelerated Investor Podcast with Josh Cantwell. If you love entrepreneurship and investing in real estate, then you are in the right place. Josh is the CEO of Freeland Ventures Real Estate Private Equity and has personally invested in well over 500 properties all across the country. He's also made hundreds of private lender loans and owns over 1,000 units of apartments. Josh is an expert at raising private money for deals, and he prides himself on never having had a boss in his entire adult life. Josh and his team also mentor investors and entrepreneurs from all over the world. He doesn't dream about doing deals. He actually does them, and so do his listeners and students. Now sit back, listen, learn, and accelerate your business, your life, and your investing with the Accelerated Investor Podcast.
Hey, welcome back to Accelerated Investor. I am so excited that you're joining me today, wherever you're at in your entrepreneurial journey or wherever you're at physically today, whether you're in the gym, on a walk, hanging out with your family, maybe getting ready for bed, listening to something in the car. I'm so honored and grateful to be part of your life, part of your journey, and that you took some time out to spend with me today at Accelerated Investor. Today I have with me a relatively new friend. His name is Cliff Hayden. He is a real estate investor. He's a broker. He runs a company called Alltech Properties, and he's going to be able to help you with probably the most difficult part of your rental portfolio, which is screening and finding qualified tenants. He is the owner and founder of a program called showmetherental.com. And we're going to talk today about his service, his program, and his entrepreneurial journey in real estate. So Cliff, thanks so much for joining us today on Accelerated Investor.
Josh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You bet. So Cliff, tell us a little bit more about what's going on in your world today. Often when I meet somebody new or I'm introduced to somebody, referred to somebody, and building a relationship like you and I are today, I'd love to just find out, first of all and foremost, like, what are you up to right now?
So that's a great question. So I'm married with 5 children. So right now I'm up to raising a bunch of chuckleheads. Yeah. So I've kind of spent my last 6 or 7 years restructuring my real estate business to have a lifestyle where I'm at home more and spending more time with my kids and traveling in the summer. My wife works for a local high school, so we travel all summer, rent RVs out. So that's kind of today's world is I do real estate, but I really focus on get my business set up so I can be at home with my kids.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Actually, matter of fact, yesterday I had a call with a guy named John Vrooman. He is the owner, founder of a group. It's a mastermind group. It's a very private group, but it's called Front Row Dads. And awesome. I was interested in talking with him about, his organization and his mastermind, and it's all guys that focus on being a dad first. So it's awesome to hear you talk about family. Definitely a huge family man. So, Cliff, how have you focused on that? Let's just expand on that a little bit. How have you, since your focus is your family, your 5 kids and your wife, traveling and enjoying them? I love it, by the way. I have a lot of personal experience with my own father, who hustled his face off. I have a tremendous amount of experience for my dad, but when he retired, he sold his business, and he was diagnosed with Parkinson's just a few months after he retired. And
hate to hear that.
Never really, thank you, but never really able to enjoy the type of retirement that he expected. So the fact that you are taking time for your kids now, enjoying them while they're growing up, not necessarily working a typical 9 to 5, taking time off in the summer, why is that the most important thing to you? Is there a personal thing you're trying to get out of that? And how have you built your business around your family?
Great questions, Josh. So basically, all we're doing this business for is, most people anyway, is for family or freedom. And people think that money is that goal. So if money is your goal, then that's all you focus on. Well, I changed my priorities around to where money is now a tool. And so when I first started, I drank the Kool-Aid. I worked, I would work 18, 20 hours a day. That's all I did. I wasn't at home. I was missing birthdays. Financial wise, we were doing great. Personal life was horrible. My wife was miserable. She was mad all the time because I wasn't home. I was always working. And so, and we did great financially. But then once you stop and take a deep breath, it was like, well, what's all this shit for? What's all this stuff for if I can't enjoy it with my family? And if your kids are screwed up, what's the point anyway? What does it matter? And so I was at an opportunity where I kind of restructured my whole business, my whole lifestyle to do what I wanted to do, which was the whole point of being an entrepreneur anyway, is to develop a great lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. You're only here for a short time, and you want to have a lifestyle where you enjoy what you do all day. So I spent, like I said, the last 6 years or so restructuring my portfolio, selling off my headache houses, buying higher end, nicer houses with less headaches so I can travel, and I'm not getting silly phone calls. When I'm traveling, I can actually be away with the kids and have some fun.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
I was going to say, have you built a team as well? Do you have property managers? Do you have general contractors, chief operating officer that helps you with that?
I don't have a CFO, but I do have, I have two virtual assistants. I have a property manager and I have a bookkeeper, and all great team. And they kind of take care of all the crap I don't like to do.
Nice.
Yeah. And so one big thing I did, just real quick story, is I literally remember meeting a guy from Baltimore when I was big in the foreclosure market. And he told me his story. He took a piece of paper, drew a line through it, and wrote on there what he didn't like to do and what he did like to do. And he went out and just found somebody that did what he didn't like to do. And so I kind of followed that pattern. And everything I don't like to do, I have people to help me with that because it just drives me crazy.
There you go. Yeah. So many people, it doesn't matter who you listen to, whether it's like a pastor or a preacher that refers to the Bible or refers to God or the universe, whether it's a motivational speaker, whether it's a business coach. A lot of them are all talk about something similar, which is essentially working within your energy, right? Things that give you energy, things that you could work at all day. I just yesterday was talking to my friend Trevor Mock, who's the CEO of Investor Carrot, and they have 6,500 clients. And we talked about for an hour on a podcast just purely about energy, right? And about working within your energy. So for you, Cliff, help me understand, what are the things that you do like to do? What are the things that give you energy? And what have you been successful at delegating?
So I hate bookkeeping. We'll start off with I do not like bookkeeping. I do not like dealing with tenant problems. I just don't like dealing with some of their stuff. What I do like doing is putting deals together. So in today's market, in our area anyway, I'm sure you're in Ohio, so you're probably a little similar. You got a lot of investors out there now, a lot of new guys, a lot of people paying more than I want to pay. And so now, to me, I structure my business where I create deals. And so I'll go in and find people who have problems, and I got a lot of friends getting divorced and different things going like that. So I'll help them find houses, I'll wholesale, I'll help fix it up. And so now in today's market, I create deals, and I do less work now, make more money than I did before.
There you go.
And so that's kind of where I'm at today.
Nice. So you like to be out deal structuring, meeting with sellers, solving problems, essentially.
Yeah, and I like fixing up houses. I think it's fun. So we do a lot of, I say a lot for us. We do some retails every year because my big goal is to get out of debt. And so right now I'm focusing on, I got debt reduction plans in place to snowball and just pay off more and more houses every year and get to a point where I have real wealth and I don't have to do much of anything if I don't want to.
Yeah, free and clear houses. There's nothing better in the entire world than houses that are free and clear. I like it. So one of the services that you've built over the years has been this program called showmetherental.com. It helps automate through your unique platform a way for investors to automate the process of finding, prospecting, and screening tenants. We own 2,400 units of apartments, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to hear more about you and what you do, because getting good tenants, screening tenants, having them move in, successfully staying there and not beating up our properties is a huge part of what we do. The longer we can get somebody to stay, it's essentially a repeat continuity every single year. The less turnover we have, the more money we make. So tell us a little bit more about your service and how it would work and how people benefit from it.
Okay, and so how this was created was out of necessity. So, at one time we weren't anywhere as big as you, but we were owning and managed, almost 80-something units. And so we always had turnovers, we had evictions. There was always, every month we had something going on. And our problem was with my manager, when we had more than 2 or 3 houses empty, we just could not take the phone calls and the leads, and we were just missing stuff left and right. And so we found ourselves asking the same questions over and over. which was how long you've been on your job, how much you have in your bank accounts, will you sign a 3 to 5 year lease. So it was just a repetition. And so we tried to find a system out there that would do it all for us, and we could not. And so that's how we created Show Me the Rental, just out of trying to get my time back with my family when I'm at home. And so what we developed was a system that advertises, generates leads, pre-screen the leads, and automates the showings. And so we kind of stop it at, we kind of stop it at the, once you get an application in. So we don't really do anything once you get a tenant in your property. But what we do is we do I call it the crap part of the management business, which is pre-screening leads, because it's like a big funnel. You might, right now we got 2 houses on there. We got 200 something leads on one. It funnels it down and screens them out to where now we only have 30 something people that viewed the property. Now of those, we have 6 to fill out an application. So we track everybody that comes in, tracks it all, sets up the showings automatically, and then we don't have to do anything until they fill out an application is when we get involved, and then we'll do our screening, which is bank statements, W-2s, pay stubs, all that stuff. And so we just kind of took the crap out of all that. I don't want to hear, you've done it long enough. I don't want to talk to people anymore about their stories and about this and that, and I've been praying for this house and different stuff. I don't, and I'm not a jerk, so I listen to them, but that's 20 minutes out of your day that, you could get a lot more, you could be a lot more efficient with your time. And so Show Me the Rental was created for that purpose, to do a one-stop shop for all that and get applications on your property.
Got it. So single family, duplex, quads, commercial,
all that stuff. Yep. Yeah. No, we don't do commercial. We're mainly just single family and apartments. That's kind of our niche.
Got it. And when you say it actually sets up the showings, are you talking about virtual showings? Are you talking about video type showings, or actually?
Well, we set it up just, there's different ways. So everybody does in our town, everybody does it a little different. So you got simple showings as lock boxes. If some people in our town, it gets some appointments to sign out a key at their office. So they'll give the address, they go to the key, sign out offices. You do set up appointments and do open houses. So we have all those different ways, whatever you choose or however your business is structured to show the property. We have 5 different ways to do it. The biggest one we do that I really like and that I enjoy is, all of our houses, we got some nice tenants in there. We actually show the houses while the current tenant's living in there. And so it automates that whole process of getting that scheduled and sends the current tenant a calendar, and they set up times that are available, and it schedules everything for you.
Got it.
Which is really neat.
That is really neat. You guys run this service nationwide?
Right now we're just in the region. We're in Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, through there. And then the goal is to go nationwide with everything. We just don't have so what we do real fast too. So we do 2 sides of it. We do the management side, and then we also do the tenant side. So a big problem we had in our town is a lot of tenants got pissed off that they go to these houses, fill an application, and find out they're not qualified. And so we run we run different types of marketing, Facebook marketing, to kind of get their profile already in our system and then match them up with houses that are in the system. And so they're only getting to look at houses that they're already pre-qualified to go see. And so it's a big deal for them because they, their time and money is important too. And there's not a lot of services out there that kind of, show them houses that they're qualified to go see.
In my newest real estate investing book, The Flip System, you'll learn the proven secrets and strategies that I've used to be a successful real estate investor. You'll also hear the story of my journey from quitting my job to doing over 2,000 units of apartments. The Flip System is now available for a limited time, and you can grab your free copy at getflipsystem.com/podcast. You'll learn the same proven principles and secrets and investing strategies that I used to quit my job and pursue a life of financial freedom. In this book, I'm sharing exactly how I was able to personally close over 750 profitable real estate deals, make over 400 private lender loans, raise over $30 million, and acquire over 2,000 units of cash flowing apartments. Get my newest book now for free at getflipsystem.com/podcast. That's getflipsystem.com/podcast. The worst case, I remember when I had my first duplex. I bought my first double in 2001. I actually moved into the lower unit. I was 24 years old. Rented out the upstairs to a young couple. They were living there when I bought it. And then when they moved out, I remember tenants would come and they'd say, hey, I'd run, back then I was running traditional classified ads, right? Even the internet and all this automation wasn't even really around back in 2001. And I remember running classified ads and trying to get people to the property and those kind of things. And sure enough, like people would say, yeah, I'm gonna come Thursday at 6 o'clock. So I was at work, I was a financial planner, I'd hustle home, I'd give up one of my appointments where I was going to meet with a financial planning client, get home at 6 o'clock, and then they would no-show, right?
Horrible.
I call that getting porched. So I would get porched in my own property where the people didn't show up. So thank God I lived downstairs, no big deal. Well, then I moved out of that property. I bought another house. Then I bought another house. Then I met my wife, and now, now we live out in the suburbs in a big, beautiful home. But I haven't been to that property in, I think, 3 years. I still own it, still have it. But I remember after I moved out the first time, I moved downtown Cleveland to this hip new neighborhood called Tremont, and then one of those units became vacant. This is probably in 2005, 2006, and I would drive to Parma, I would drive to my double, oh, I'm gonna come, I'm gonna be there, I can't wait to see this property, and they would no-show. Right, so I can imagine, I haven't had to deal with that for years,
horrible.
But I can imagine the stress and the amount of bull crap and the amount of frustration if you're a real estate investor and you're doing it manually and you're thinking, well, I've got 1 unit or I've got 10 units and I'm gonna go meet the tenants only to find out that they had a bankruptcy last year and their credit's a 520. Right? So all that stuff you're talking about is stuff that you guys automate right from the get-go.
Correct. All of it. And it's a good question on when you schedule an appointment, a system actually texts the tenant a half hour before the appointment to make sure they respond to let you know that they are on track to come see you. Because nothing is worse than a no-show. It's a complete waste of time, and you don't even deal with them after that.
Yeah, and it sours your motivation for even being in real estate, right? When you're losing cash flow and you've got to drive to a property and somebody no-shows. It's just an awful, awful part of the business. Yeah, and if you get somebody in, now you're talking about, hey, this is great, I love real estate, versus when somebody's not in and the property's negative cash flow, you're like, this sucks, it's the worst thing ever. That's awesome. So how do people onboard with your service? Like if you had a client or somebody that's listening to this podcast that's interested in learning more, do you guys have a website, or where can they go to learn more about what you guys do?
Yeah, great question, Josh. Go to showmetherental.com. And then the services, we made it as cheap as possible. We do that, everything we just talked about, we do for $49, and it's a one-time only fee. So you put your house on there, it's $49, and that's until it's rented. And it sends it out to all the major websites, generates the leads, pre-screens them, automates the showings, and you just sit back and watch.
Nice.
And that's it.
Love it. So when it's automates the showing, so again, if there's a lockbox, they can let themselves in or some sort of key code. If not, and you're too busy, it would send a showing request or something to a realtor, like a leasing agent that can go show the property to them?
Correct. When you log into our system and sign up, it'll have all the options in there, and you just pick one. And so you pick whatever option you want to do to show that property, and that's how it'll schedule it.
Got it. Love it. So Cliff, let's pivot for a minute and talk a little bit more about you, right? I love on this podcast to hear about individuals and their entrepreneurial journey, right? The kind of good, bad, and the ugly about their journey. And so I'm curious to know if you remember, I don't know what you did before you got into real estate, but I'd love to ask the question, do you remember the moment when you decided that you were going to be a full-time real estate investor, you were going to burn the boats, burn the ships, jump into real estate, and that was all you were going to do? Like, do you remember the moment where you were at, what you were doing when you said, I'm going to do this. I love this business. I want to give it a shot.
I do. It's when I got a check for $40,000.
Nice.
So I had back in my younger days, I had a full-time job at AT&T. I was, they called us an outside plant technician. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. An outside plant technician.
That's a mouthful. That's all right.
Which is a fancy word for a lineman. So I was a construction worker. So I worked the bucket trucks. We put up all the telephone lines throughout our city, went to storm damage, all that stuff. And so while I was doing that, I was out of town in Memphis and working a bunch of overtime, and I had a bunch of money. And my brother-in-law and sister came back from Iraq. And so they came back and introduced me to a game called Cash Flow, Robert Kiyosaki. And so I started playing Cash Flow, and they had stuff in there where you could buy houses and rent them out. And I didn't even know you could do that. So I was that naive back then. And so my wheels started turning, and I had some money saved up from AT&T. And so I bought a duplex, which was a horrible deal. But in the process of buying that duplex, I found out about a local real estate club and kind of went into that and started meeting people in there and networking and educating myself, and was like, this is a lot of fun. Yeah. And so I come from a very lower middle class family. So, that job security was a big, big deal for me back then. And I was making great money at AT&T at a 20-something-year-old kid. And so, but I always knew I just wanted to do something more. And at that time, it was working my way up into management and the corporate world, and worked my way up the AT&T ladder. And then some things happened to me at AT&T that I found out that I was literally a puppet on a string. They didn't care about me. And so I was like, I don't want to be with this company. And so I started doing real estate on the side and building up houses while I was working a full-time job. And so I didn't want to quit. I wanted to quit, but I didn't know how to quit. And so what I did is with the bucket trucks, you have a CDL license, which is a big truck, a special license you got to drive to use the drive. And they give you random drug tests. And so they random drug test me, and the timing could not have been better. And I refused to take the drug test. So it's automatic suspension. And so I went on suspension, and my goal was, at that time, my plan was to see, okay, if I can do real estate full time for a couple months, let me see what I can do, and then I can decide if I want to quit or go back to work.
Nice.
And so I'm going to, and I don't have a drug problem, by the way. I literally failed it on purpose. And so I went to counseling they send you to counseling for rehab.
I was going to say, you're in real estate because of a drug test. That's fantastic.
That's exactly right. And so I went to the counselor, and he happened to be my aunt and uncle's next door neighbor, which was even more coincidental. Yeah. And so I kind of told him what was going on, and he kind of laughed at me and was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but let's see what you can do with it. So I took 8 hours of rehab and turned it into 4.5 months suspension. And on about month 2, I was crazy stuff.
Love it.
And so I did real estate full time. And at that time I was a buyer's agent for a foreclosure broker in our town. And it just happened to be 08 and 09. So the foreclosure market was booming, and I was doing great in real estate, and I started wholesaling houses. And about, I say month 2 or 3, I wholesaled a house. In that 3-month period, I made my salary at AT&T doing real estate full time. Nice. I was getting that check, and it was a big, huge wholesale check. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I can do this. I know I can do it. I know I'm not going to fall on my face. I don't have a college degree, so all I have is a high school diploma. And at that time at AT&T, it was a big deal to walk away. Like I was making $80,000 to $100,000 a year being a construction worker, and that's a big deal to do this full time. And so once I started making that money, I was like, I can do it. And you know how entrepreneurship is. It's a lot of it's mental, being mentally tough and believing in yourself. And so I knew I could do it. And after that, I called my boss up and was like, I quit. I turned my keys in. I've never been back since. Oh, so that's how I got into that's how I kind of did my plunge into real estate.
All because of a failed drug test. Yes. Strategically failed drug test.
Strategic, strategic.
Yes. I've never heard a story like that before in my life, Cliff. So that was fantastic. I love it. So in your journey now, like that was 2008, 2009. It's been almost 10 years. What was one of the biggest challenges that you faced? What was maybe a time that you were in the business and maybe things were going well, and all of a sudden you faced a big challenge, and you maybe were having some self-doubt creep in, maybe having some second guessing creep in, some negative self-talk creep in, and something happened, and how did you get through it?
So great question. And so for me, it was time management. And so I told you I come from a lower middle class family, so money was always like the goal. Like it was so important. That's what my drive was. And so at that time in my life, being an absentee father was okay because I was providing for my family. And so I would work, and I was a very hard worker. And so the biggest challenge I had was the sacrifice was too big for what I was trying to get to. And so I was just at the right place at the right time back then. So I was a foreclosure agent. Back then, there was a lot of banks in our town that had a ton of foreclosures. They were trying to fix them up, did not have people to fix them up. So I started a general contracting company, and I started fixing up bank foreclosures all through my town. And so at that time, money was not an issue. I was making more than I could spend. And the problem was, for being an absentee dad, I was buying my kids toys that I always wanted as a kid that we could never afford. Sure. Which at the time you thought was cool, but it taught them, the lessons I was teaching them and the stuff I was doing was very harmful to them. And so it just came to a point to where my personal life was just up, and it was horrible. And so I just had to sit down and make a change.
Isn't it interesting that all of a sudden this entrepreneurial journey, you're making more money, your business career is taking off, lower middle income family where money was important to get ahead, and now that you're getting ahead and your personal life is suffering because of it. And isn't that really the goal? Isn't that really what we're all striving for, is to pull those two levers of both financial independence, financial freedom, as well as engagement and connectivity to our family, and pull them both at the same exact time, at the same exact speed, so they work together. And it's a lifelong challenge. I'm not saying I have it worked out, because I certainly don't. I definitely have times when it feels more congruent and it's working better, and other times when I feel like they're totally going the wrong speed and one is conflicting with the other. But isn't it interesting that, the time when you thought what would make you happy, which was more money, and I could give my kids what they wanted, which was more toys, that all of a sudden that's really almost the exact opposite of what you really were driving for, right? Is the connectivity with your family.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a hard balance. It's all about balance. And I had like a square wheel as my analogy, and it wouldn't turn. It would flop over eventually when there was, that much of a pursuit to do it, and then to go to the next one. And the goal is to have a round wheel that just rolls and everything's balanced. And it's hard to do. And I still struggle with it too. So we saw our ups and downs, but it's a lot better now. And the big thing is, I know it sounds corny, but I know my kids know I love them now, and I'm around and I'm involved with them, which makes me much happier than having all that money in my bank and doing all these deals and being financially well off. And we don't do bad now, but we changed our lifestyle up to do what we do now.
Yeah. Well, that's what matters. It's not what the neighbors think. It's not what the Joneses think. It's what works for you.
Yes. And so that balance is tough. And I agree with you. It's a never ending. You never figure it out. It's always evolving, and you're changing things and trying to do the best you can.
Are you ready to automate and explode your real estate investing? We're searching for extremely motivated individuals who are sick and tired of wasting time and want to finally see real results from their real estate investing business. We're searching for investors looking to get to the next level and become a bigger, better version of themselves while being a more successful real estate investing entrepreneur. Apply for mentoring and coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. That's joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. It's interesting. I don't know anybody that says that they have it all figured out is totally lying to us, right? Because that's part of life. Is you're never going to be able to pull all the levers at all the right times. If you've got the relationship lever going well, maybe your financial lever's not going as well. Or maybe if you're really doing well in your business, maybe your health is off kilter because you're spending so much time in your company. Maybe if your relationships with your spouse and your wife and your kids and your body, that's going really well, but maybe you're not spending enough time building wealth and investing. You can never get them all right? That's a total illusion that you're ever going to get them all right. What really matters in my world, and Cliff, I kind of want to ask you this kind of final question: is why do you work? What do you work for? For me, what matters is I want to feel like, number one, like I'm making progress, right? So I've got to have goals. I've got to have my vision of where I want to go. And if I'm making progress, sometimes I'm making faster progress than other times. But if I'm making progress, that is matters to me. And number two, I just did a podcast, by myself before we started recording today, and was talking about, for me, what's important is living my life in a positive state of mind, regardless of the circumstances around me. Because if I'm positive, I know I'm going to make more money. I'm going to have better relationships. I know if I'm in a positive, that's up to me. I'm the only one that can decide if I'm going to be in a positive state and if I'm going to look at life as a gift, the good, the bad, the ugly, the awesome experiences, the horrible challenges. It's all a gift, right? It's all a gift. And trying to get all that to work out, really, so long as you're working in such a way that you're pursuing and making progress for what's truly important to you, your why are you doing this? That's really all that matters. It's all that matters. Because it doesn't matter how much money you make, you can't take it with you when you're gone anyway. The only thing you take with you is the experiences. People talking about you when you're gone, and they say, I had this awesome experience with Dad, or I had this awesome experience with Uncle Cliff, I had this awesome experience with my friends. That's all that matters. So how about you? What's the big reason for you? What's your big why? Why do you work? Why are you working hard? What do you want to accomplish with that?
Well, Josh, that's a great question. I think your answer was very smart also. I think I'm kind of similar. So mine is family. So I want to leave a good legacy to my kids, and not a financial legacy. I want them to be good people and contribute and make it sounds cliche, but make the world a better place. Like you said, that people talk well about them. They're always there to help. I want to put them in a position where they can really figure out what they want to do with their life. I know they're not going to do it at a young age, but they have the opportunity to do other certain things that I couldn't do as a young kid because I just had to get a job. So hopefully they can, and I want them to suffer a little bit. So I'm not going to spoon feed them, but give them the opportunity to have some fun and learn and figure out what they want to do and enjoy life. So I'm really close with my mom and dad, and my dad is getting ready to turn 72. And I'm a Vietnam vet, seen the world, very cool guy. And I asked him, I was like, Dad, how fast does it go by? And he goes, son, blink of an eye. He goes, I'm 72. I feel like I was in the war a couple years ago, just out of high school. It's so fast. And if you don't stop and just enjoy and be present in the moment and enjoy your day and who you're talking to and what's going on, what's the point? So I like talking to older people and getting their perspectives. I read a great article on what people say on their deathbed, and nobody ever said, I wish I would have made more money. I wish I'd have worked harder. I wish I'd have got that overtime. They all say exactly what you said. I wish I'd have had fulfillment, a purpose. People knew how I cared about them. I spoke up and said what I wanted to say. And so there comes a time, and I'm sorry about that beep. I thought I had everything turned off.
You're good. I didn't even hear it.
Okay. There comes a time, I want to say it. There comes a time in life where you got to figure out what's best for you. And I think everybody's journey is a little different. And that lifestyle to me is what I'm after now. So I'm really close to it. And all this is easy to say when you got money too, by the way. So I know there's people out here that don't have a pot to piss in. So it's a little different conversation. Right. But when you do start getting to that financial independence or security, you really, that goal is over. Now you got to figure out the next stage of your life and what you're going to do. Yeah. And so for me, it's my family, and I like helping people. It makes me feel good.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to I don't know why on all these podcasts today I keep talking about Kevin O'Leary. It's just I don't know. It's just on my mind.
He's a cool guy.
He is. So Kevin O'Leary was at one of our live events, and he was talking about when he took his first company and sold his first company, which was I think it was called Softy Soft. It was a software company, and I don't think it was Softy Soft, something to do with software. But anyway, when he sold the company, and all him and the 8 or 9 or 10 main executives in the business, they all were sitting around in the boardroom when they exited the business got sold, they all were filthy rich. And they all kind of turned around and looked at each other and said, well, what the hell do we do now? Yeah. Like, it wasn't like every one of them was like, hey, man, let's go buy tickets. Let's go get on a plane. Let's go fly to an island and let's go drink Mai Tais for the rest of our lives. These are all super high performers, 9 or 10 guys that they had all worked their asses off, 50, 60, 70-hour weeks to build this software company, and they exited and they looked at each other. It was like, well, what do we do next? And I'll never forget Kevin telling me that story, because if money is what you're after and now you have the money, that's going to leave a gaping void in your life, because you're like, okay, now I have the money, but nothing else. It's really about fulfillment, right? About fulfillment. Well, listen, Cliff, we've got to run. It's been awesome to get to know you and learn more about your companies. Again, tell everybody, our audience, where they can learn more and enroll in your services. ShowMeTheRental.com. Tell us a little bit more about that. And if they visit the website and they sign up, what are they going to experience when they get going?
Okay, great question. So again, ShowMeTheRental.com. Just check it out. We got tutorials, all that educational information on there for you to learn about it. And also, I don't mind too for your guests. If they got any questions or I can help them with anything, I can give them my phone number. Sure. I do only answer phones between 12 and 1 and 4 and 5. So if they call in those time frames, I'll usually call back the next day. We have an answering service. But they can reach me at 502-641-8781. They can call and I'll call them back if I can help them. I've actually had a few people take me up on that, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
That's it, I guess.
So when they sign up for the service, what happens?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. So when they sign up, you basically register. It's very simple. We kind of set it up like kayak.com, if you're familiar with that website. Yes. So I know real estate, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so everything needs to be laid out for me. So when you sign up, it just basically walks you through step by step how to upload your property, put the pictures, set the pre-screening questions, pick what websites you want to syndicate out to, how you want to show your property, all that fun stuff, details of the property. It just kind of walks you through section by section, pretty dummy proof, and then put your house on there and sit back and watch the leads come in.
Nice. I love it. I love the simplicity of it. Listen, Cliff Hayden, thanks so much for joining us today on Accelerated Investor. Appreciate you telling our audience a little bit more about your service and a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey.
Josh, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, sir.
You've been listening to Josh Cantwell and the Accelerated Investor Podcast. Leave a comment on our iTunes channel and let us know what you want to learn next or who you'd like Josh to interview. While you're there, give us a 5-star rating and make sure to subscribe so you can be the first to hear new episodes. Follow Josh Cantwell and his companies, Strategic Real Estate Coach and Freeland Ventures, on all social media platforms now, and stay up to date on new training and investment opportunities. To start your journey toward the lifestyle you've always dreamed of, apply for coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com.